there, everyone. Welcome to Hustle and Heart TV. I'm Darieth Chisolm. Today we're going to talk about how to build a strong company culture and leaders within your team as I sit down with Sonny Bringol and we discuss how he grew his company from a one-man operation to 120 employees in 6 states in 13 years. This from a man with a chemical engineering degree, now turned mortgage lending leader with Victorian Finance. How he did it and his advice for you, up next on Hustle and Heart TV. Like so many entrepreneurs, I'm drawn to the glamorous, gorgeous, larger-than-life, iconic ideas and outcomes that represent success. I'm amazed at just what it takes to truly be a standout, a rock star, a millionaire, a trendsetter. It ain't easy, but somebody's got to do it. So why not you? I know it takes hard work and hustle to make things happen, but I also believe it's a matter of heart. We can manifest our greatest desires with a little less sweat equity and a little more divine guidance. Plus, be equally inspired by someone else's life story. I'm Darieth Chisolm. I'm here to help you unleash, unlock, and bloom your dreams in business and in life. I'm a speaker, author, entrepreneur, life and business coach, media personality, and video podcast host. Every week, my team and I uncover dynamic, authentic, heartfelt conversations to help you leverage tools and resources, make more money, live the lifestyle of your dreams, become a rock star, and love your journey. Sonny Bringol, thanks so much for being on Hustle and Heart TV. So excited to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure to meet you.
Today, well, it's a pleasure to meet you in person too. Today we're going to talk about mortgage and the real estate industry. And it's so funny because I was thinking as we were driving over that I have this thought in my mind that, and there was this phrase that people often use, that there was the best of times and there was the worst of times. So what kind of time would you call this right now in the mortgage industry?
The middle of time.
Okay. Why so?
Well, obviously we had the mortgage collapse back in 2008, in which, if you weren't aware, you weren't, necessarily, active in, current events. It was devastating to a number of parts of the country as far as real estate values. They tanked by 30, 40, 50%. But fortunately in Western PA, we never had a huge run-up in values, so we didn't have a huge decrease in values. So Western Pennsylvania stayed pretty stable through the market. Even though there was a decline of 5 to 10%, it still declined, but it's recovered now a few percent a year ever since then. And it's always been a stable market. And it continues to be that way today. We have some other economic activity that's improving it now, but it's still not by a huge, dramatic amount, but it's still a very stable market.
But most of us certainly can remember several years ago when the real estate and mortgage industry were really tanked, no matter where you were, and the frustration and the pain and the angst in the economy, and whether you were, in lending or trying to refinance a home or just hold on to your home. And we've clearly scaled out of that to some degree, but is the mindset still that people are a little more timid around real estate?
Absolutely. There's still a lot of misnomers that are available today, that it's incredibly difficult to get a loan, that you have to have 20% down in all cases to buy a house, which is not the case today. There's still a lot of routes to buy a house with, not that much down. A few percent is the lowest point to get as a down payment. There's even, if you're a veteran or in a rural area, you get 100% financing. So there's still financing options. It's just that misnomer out there that was fueled by the crisis that you have to have 20% down, which is not true today.
Well, not to mention, of course, that rates are low, and so having lower interest rates makes it much more available for people, of course, to get loans. But I just wonder again, as I think about where people's mindset around money and the economy, and how as a lender, if you have to fight off any of those misinterpretations, how do you do that?
Well, we share with people the value of a home, but also it's a discussion about their budget. What do they think they can afford, and where do they see their life and career going? There's an economic term that's used by a lot of people called labor liquidity, which is your ability to be able to move to where your jobs are. Because the ability to afford a home is where your job is and where you earn your income. If you have a stable job and you're in a stable location that you want to reside for a time frame, it's in your best financial interest to buy a home because of the appreciation value. And we share that with them, with their what their future plans or how long-term their plans are. But if they're very short-term in their job, if they're plan to move around the United States in different career roles, then it's probably not the best option. But we have a life discussion with them about what's the best option for their long-term plans. And buying a house is not for everybody. And just for a lot of people, but not for everybody.
And so as a business owner, as someone who owns Victorian Finance and have done so for some time, and really prominent in the marketplace, would you say that that for you is a part of the joy in being in this industry, in talking with people and helping them to actually buy and own and maintain a home?
Well, our pleasure comes from the fact of the joy of when somebody does finally buy a home, and their excitement of the family when they do get to buy a home. Because we're advisors at the end of the day. We help them with the aspects of getting the money to buy the house, but it's a lifelong financial decision, and we help in the advisory of that. And when they get both the financial joy and the emotional joy of buying a house, it's our greatest moment of success and enjoyment for us personally to have that moment. And that's our whole goal, is put people in houses that they can afford. Back to your question before of the crisis, is a lot of people in the industry gave it a bad name because they were providing mortgages to people that couldn't necessarily afford those mortgages. And the reason why we've been so successful, and the reason why we've had such a good reputation, I believe, is that we've always been a good advisor, and we've always put people in good positions, and they've always been thankful years later after they bought the home.
Yeah, well, and that, of course, is so rewarding, I should say, for you in working in this industry. Why, though, this industry? Give me your backstory. What was it that led you to, to open Victorian Finance, and what was the backstory on that?
Oh, I consider it somewhat humorous in the fact that I was a chemical engineer in my old life. I used to be a business manager for one of the divisions of Calgon Corporation. I'm a Cajun from Louisiana, so moved me up here to Pittsburgh. And I went to Carnegie Mellon after that to get an MBA, which I graduated in 2002, right after September 11th. My intentions were to be an investment bank on Wall Street. However, after September 11th, it was very difficult to find that job on Wall Street at the time. So I did some freelance valuation work with several large accounting firms in town, and I valued different types of businesses. I valued the steel mills, different type of investment firms, and I valued this mortgage company. And the people running this mortgage company were idiots, but they still made money. And I said, well, if these people can run this business and make money at it, then I certainly can do that as well. And so I decided to start Victorian Finance from scratch out of the house in Mount Lebanon in January 1st, 2003. And
you, for a while, operated as a one-man band.
Correct, for a year. Hired first employee at the end of the first year. And to where we're at today, we're at 120 employees in 15 states.
Wow, that's pretty impressive growth over a relatively short period of time.
Well, it is. It was out of necessity. The ups and downs of this industry, as we talked about back in 2008, required you to grow. As I put some of the legislation that was passed by Congress that said, made too small to succeed, in contrast to too big to fail. So if you were too small, there was no way you were ever going to succeed, because you had to survive the onslaught of all the regulations that were coming down the pipe. So it's either you decided to get bigger or go out of business. And that's where the decision came back.
And how did you wrestle with that? I mean, literally to be able to move into that relatively quickly in order to meet the demands, knowing that you wanted to succeed, but I'm sure there were probably some challenges in growing so quickly.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm an engineer.
Yeah, we have to remember that part too.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. I'm an engineer. It's like I'm not necessarily the most personable person on the planet. I didn't study psychology or things to manage large groups of people. And some of the most difficult things for entrepreneurs is going from 1 people to 5 people to 10 people to 50 to 100 people. It's a very difficult transition on how we think in running an organization, because you go from technical to non-technical, because my job today is not very technical anymore. My job today is dealing with personalities all day long. I'm a psychologist at the end of the day now. I'm no longer the technical person, because in the beginning I used to fix the computers and set up the computers and do the software and everything else. Now today I just deal with personalities.
So you've really had to wear a couple of different hats, transitioning out of engineering into obviously the mortgage industry, and now psychiatrist or psychologist.
And that's the toughest thing for us.
But most business owners would tell you that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the varying business owners that we've featured on the show talk about just the not necessarily the complexity, but the involvement in the management of their employees, and of course really encouraging great team spirit and teamwork, and how very important that is to growing a company. I want to get your strategies around that and how that has helped you to be recognized as one of the top workplaces here in the city of Pittsburgh, as well as just, again, that management of growth so quickly. And we'll focus in on that when we come back. Stay with us. Have you considered how podcasting and video podcasting can help you build your brand, influence, and income? Thousands of podcasters are enjoying the wonderful benefits of being able to closely connect with their audience, find their ideal clients and customers. And if that's what you'd like to do, I'd love to help. Schedule a free discovery call with me, and I can help walk you through the process of developing your own podcast show. If combining videos is what you're looking to do, fantastic. We'll have a great time doing that as well. You can simply go out to podcastingandyou.com to access my calendar and schedule a free complimentary discovery session with me. You can also give me a phone call at 305-320-8143, and we'll talk about all of the ways that podcasting and video podcasting can help you in business and building your brand. When it comes to food, family, and tradition, Atria's is your dining destination. Atria's has a passion for food, and it all starts with our culinary trained chefs. From the made-from-scratch rubs and dressings to the best in the burr crab cakes, Atria's prides itself in serving honest and real food. Come and see what makes us different at one of our 8 locations. We're now offering private dining, to-go, and full-service catering. Atria's, we're always changing courses.
Hi, I'm Nancy Mosser. I'm a casting director here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and you're watching Hustle and Heart TV with Darieth Chisolm.
So we were talking about the concept of really building a strong team, and especially when you have to do it quickly to meet the demands of what's going on in your industry, but also just to, you know, meet the demands of customers that are coming through the door. And you said that you had to do it relatively quickly, but it also allowed you to be recognized as one of the top workplaces in the city. So how did you grow quickly, manage great morale, and build a great team?
That was one of the things that I learned going through the process of building the business. I don't think I've ever had any class that's ever taught me the importance of company culture. And today, if I were to go back to MBA school, I would forget some of the finance classes and I would go back to some of the HR classes on the value of company culture, the establishment of it, as that at the end of the day is your greatest asset. It is the reason why you're successful. There's a number of companies that, from technology companies, that were very similar, and I'd read some stories about this that helped me realize this, is that you could have 2 people creating computer chips, one successful and the other is not. They both have the same technology. Their difference is their company culture. And I realized that that is our greatest asset, in which we have a great family environment, in which I established the preeminent thought is that you back each other up. Nobody screws up. Everybody makes mistakes, but nobody does them intentionally. And everybody will make a mistake. And I plan for everybody to make a mistake. And so when somebody makes a mistake, is that your primary first instinct is, what could I have done to prevent that problem? Not to blame that person.
Not to point fingers, but instead figure out how can you best take responsibility for that and chip into the team, because as you said, that is so very important.
And I don't know if I get in trouble by saying certain words that are, you know, not necessarily good, but, you know, I consider myself head soul in charge. We might have to edit that, but, you know, I had the head person in charge to establish the culture, that I'm the single disciplinarian, that if anybody violates the culture, then I take that in hand, because my primary responsibility is the enforcement of the culture, and that everybody else doesn't have to worry about defending themselves. All they know they have to do is tell the truth, do their job, and back each other up. And that has created a great company culture that has been the reason for our success. But the other part of that is no company culture is successful with one person leading it. Everybody else has to follow it and use it as an example. And I'm blessed with an extraordinary management team that has taken about 5 years, 6 years to develop those people and find the right people that match that company culture, have the same ethics and work ethic and mindset about where we're trying to go as a family and as a company together to get there.
And it's also allowed you to develop additional companies and spin those out of Victorian Finance.
Yeah, and, when you buy a house, it's probably the only time you're ever going to think about changing your homeowner's insurance. So we have a homeowner's insurance company called Stalwart Insurance Agency. And then we have an ancillary business that, as Victorian Finance, we're the primary lender. We lend the money ourselves to when you buy a house. However, there's what's called the wholesale channel, in which other mortgage brokers in the industry can originate, and then we lend for them. And that's where we created the company, Reliant Funding Group, to do that.
Obviously, going back to the opportunity to be more of a whole provider to your clients and customers, and that they were going to go out and find those things anyway, so why not keep it in the house and offer that to them? Yeah. I would imagine, though, along the way there's been some challenges, especially in an industry that is had its ups and downs. You faced bankruptcy, not one time but 2 times in this process. How did you manage through that?
Well, both of them were on the verge. We never actually went there, but we got to such a cash-strapped position that was, any other hiccup in our world would have caused us to go down that path. The first time was obviously when the mortgage crisis started in 2008, where everybody wasn't buying a home, everybody was skittish about buying a home, so our business dropped substantially. And so that's making the hard choices about when you're laying off people or not, because these are family members. And they made a commitment to you to work with you to help build this business. And when the business is reduced and you have to lay people off, that's an incredibly hard decision to make. But you have to think of it in the context of saving everybody else's job. So you're not just laying off this one person, you're saving the other 99 people's job. And so that was a very difficult thing for me. And my acceptance of that is that I waited too long to do that because I had that commitment. But in the end, I made it through it. So maybe I didn't wait that long. Too long to do it, because everybody understands it was a hard choice, and I made the best choice for us to get us to that position. The second time was back in 2013 when Ben Bernanke announced on May 2nd that he was going to taper, and that's where interest rates shot up, and a lot of people stopped buying houses again at that time frame. So there's 3 different events that happened: the tapering, the economic shutdown, and then the polar vortex, all through the second half of 2013. At the same time, with all the new regulations, I had to expand the business. So I had spent a lot of money expanding the business, growing, because I had to get bigger. I had to get the revenue to pay for the infrastructure necessary to survive the onslaught of regulations that were coming today. So I was faced with reducing revenue at the same time of increasing costs and investment in expansion, all at the same time. It was a huge gamble. And today, it all worked out. But it easily could not have worked out. But I had scratched every penny I had. Every retirement account I had, every single source of money I had scraped it clean to get us through that time frame.
How did you have the foresight and the courage to do that?
Well, I'm actively involved in our industry on a national level, on a political level, a regulatory level, to see what's coming down the pipe. My responsibility is to not get blindsided by something several years down the road. So I need to be aware of what's coming down the pipe so that I can build the infrastructure necessary to survive those regulations coming down. Because you can't do it overnight. The things that I have to build have to be built over a year with talent and software and infrastructure to do that. And so I saw that coming, but I also saw the cost of it and that I did not have the revenue to support that cost. And so I had to grow in order to get the infrastructure in place to survive the regulations that were going to come a year to 2 years later and doing that. But that was being actively involved in politics and our associations and in understanding where the regulators were coming from to see this coming down the pipe 2 to 3 years later.
So if not for that, would you have been blindsided by some of that?
Oh, absolutely. I'd be in a very difficult competitive situation right now. I would not have the advantages I have today because just on October 3rd, a lot of those regulations went in place. And we have the infrastructure and capabilities that we're doing it today better than anybody else in the industry. And we're getting recognized today for that ability to do this. But it's taken us a year and a half to get to this point. And I don't think we'd even be anywhere to our reputation level, our ability to grow, our ability to attract other people at this point if we not had done those things. We certainly wouldn't be, you know, where we're at now.
Yeah, and so you mentioned those 2 times where clearly it was really skin and nails and tough and, you know, pulling through that, and you look back now and you think, wow, we managed that. What would you, are you setting yourself up any differently to manage maybe the next roller coaster ride that may be coming down the pipe?
Well, and this is, you know, one of my friends says, I constantly live my life in chaos. There's no static.
Is there something wrong with that?
Well, no, I personally think it's a blast. I'm having fun all the time. It's, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, well, everything's stable. What can we do to muck it up?
Right, yeah.
But it's that you always have to be thinking ahead. There's no stagnant. There's always progress. You always have to be moving forward because your market is never stagnant. No, but your competitors are never stagnant. Nothing is ever stagnant. So if you ever get the mindset of I'm comfy and I'm stagnant, sell and retire, because somebody else is going to go right past you and you're going to lose all the value you have. So if you're either moving forward or sell and get out of the business. As I say, there's no Victorian Finance way. There's only a better way. And we're constantly trying to find a better way every day. There's small moves to success. No great success is overnight. There's a number of books you read where you talk about these overnight successes. There's no such thing as an overnight success. There's only overnight acknowledgement of success. Right. Because you look at most people that are successful, they're 5, 10 years into that role and they've been working on it that entire time.
People never see the smaller steps to getting it. They
Right.
just see the end result and didn't realize that there was a long history of tiny steps that lead to that. Yeah, very good point on that. So this is great information that we are getting from Sonny, so thanks so much for sharing so much of this. And I would encourage you to please share this episode if you're watching online on social media. It's really easy. Just grab the link, tweet it, send it out on Facebook, put it out on Instagram, whatever social media tool is your choice. We would encourage you to do that. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can continue to watch our episodes. We'll be sending those out. And you can also subscribe at hustleandhearttv.com. Leave us your name and email address and we'll send you future episodes. Sonny, we've got so much more to talk about, including how you balance your very busy Cajun lifestyle. So we'll take a look at that and get some more great business advice from him when we come back. I want to give a huge thank you to all of our sponsors and advertisers for Hustle and Heart TV. Thank you so much for supporting the show. It means so very much. And I'd also like to extend an invitation to you if you've got a product or a service that you'd like to put in front of our amazing audience. Simply request a media kit to look at the varying sponsor opportunities that we have for the show by sending me an email at info@dariethchisolm.com. That's info@dariethchisolm.com. I'll be sure to email you a media kit to schedule a time to talk about ways that we can position your product or service in front of our amazing audience.
The award-winning Savoy restaurant has become synonymous with fine dining, upscale ambiance, and a great destination for local and national celebrities to enjoy the night in style. The Savoy has won multiple Savor Pittsburgh awards for its delicious menu. Our wine list was awarded Wine Spectator's 2012 Award of Excellence, and the Savoy has also won the American Institute of Architects' People's Choice Award for its beautiful architecture and design. For dinner reservations and more info, log on to savoypgh.com.
Hello, I'm Melissa Rice. And I'm Michelle Rice. And we own 13 McDonald's restaurants in the Pittsburgh area. And we'll see you on the next episode of Hustle and Heart TV with Darieth Chisolm.
Sitting in the offices of Victorian Finance, and as we continue our conversation, I'd like to switch gears and talk a little bit more about lifestyle and having fun and how you do that, and whenever you get a chance to go back and visit your Cajun roots.
Well, you know, like most entrepreneurs, we're workaholics, so we do that as, you know, through most of our day. But I have a 13-year-old daughter that I get most of my enjoyment in life out of. And she certainly is every day getting more and more challenges and drama that come with that.
Yeah, because she's 13 and she's a girl. Yeah.
But she's awesome. She's smart. She's, you know, very honored that she's a beautiful girl, and she's my daughter. And she's named Victoria, so that's where the name of the business came from. But lifestyle was, you know, I'm always traveling, doing something. I like Tough Mudders, like the kind of obstacle course races, snow skiing, and anything to be active and get out and doing something. I like to drive fast, and just anything to get outdoors. I play golf every now and then, but I don't have enough time for any particular sport that I focus on purely, but it's just things to have fun.
Something to give you some balance, because as busy entrepreneurs, we wear a ton of hats and we're always thinking about what are the next steps and what are the things to do. But then when you can completely get away from that and really have fun doing something else, when you get back to work, it makes it a lot easier, right? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, but I still feel guilty. I suspect most entrepreneurs still feel guilty. Mm-hmm. When we're out, if I'm on the golf course and I'm playing, I know after an hour I'm like, I know I could be doing something. I know I could be doing something.
That's why I don't golf, because I think 4 hours later, gee, I could have got a lot done. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, some of my best chip shots have been with the earpiece, talking to somebody on the phone.
See?
It's very hard. I suspect that most people, that feel responsible for everything, to get away and break away completely for that time frame. But I truly am honored that for the great workplaces that we have, that management team has provided me that ability to relax. And it's taken a long time to get there. Over a decade before we get there to that point that I can actually go away for a day. And even in one of the most difficult regulatory times in our history with this past month, our team has handled it successfully with my minimal involvement on day-to-day firefighting, that I can still focus strategically on where we need to take the company on other macro items that are long duration in thinking and establishment, that I don't have to fight the fires every day. I still get involved, but I still watch the team in place, but I try not to jump in so far to take away their power. And I know we started this off with how do I relax, but somehow I brought it back to
right back to work, right?
Yeah. So sorry to bring that back to work, but that was actually one of the other things that was difficult for me to learn, is that sometimes backing away is more important than jumping in, and providing them that ability to establish themselves as a leader position, so everybody else can follow them too, and not just follow me.
How valuable is that in terms of information that other small business owners, entrepreneurs who are, in this growth period and really need to understand the value of creating either a management team or other operations or people to handle that you can delegate to? How valuable is that?
For me, it was a learning experience of the difference between, the reason why this came up, of a balance of personal life and professional life. Before I learned that point, I had no life. Every day I was focused on, what do I do? I need to jump into every problem. I need to be involved in every problem because I can find a better solution. I can help somebody get to the solution faster. But I realized I was taking their power away from them establishing themselves as a leader within their own teams. And that I could help them better by pulling them, talking to them outside of their group, coaching them on what to do, and then letting them go back in and establish themselves as a leader. Because at the end of the day, I'm not successful by being one leader. I'm successful by having a ton of leaders. And I need to find a way to create leaders in their own right and provide them the power and do that. And the minute I become involved, I diminish their power. I should be establishing their power by backing them up and coaching them without anybody else around.
What would you recommend as resources for people to understand that, whether it's books or trainings or programs that they can get involved with, who understand the value of building leaders within your team?
I've read a number of anecdotal books. There's no book that I have found that it says establishes this is what you do as a leader. I've read books about, I had a great couple of days at Gettysburg. The power of leadership and how to become engaged in certain positions, how to communicate in certain positions. And went to Antietam as well. Those two trips I would highly recommend. They're great days, historical days, but they're absolutely wonderful leadership lessons from doing that. But reading historical books, I found the best. There's an author named Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel, that had great anecdotal moments in which you capture pieces of information that you can apply to your business. The great, was a book about Teddy Roosevelt and back in 1905 of how did that set the seeds for World War II. and that there was great anecdote. I'm sorry, the name of the book escapes me at the moment.
We'll be sure to include those books in the show notes page. So anything that he's referencing, we'll make sure the links are available for you if you're on the show notes page of this particular episode. But
and there's another recent book called The Big Small, which I think is important for every entrepreneur to read, because it's little bitty things you do that have great impacts on your business. But they're incredibly how small they are. But it's got a ton of examples, and you're finding those moments that match your company culture. Because there's no book that's identical to your company culture. Every culture is different, regardless of making the same widget or not.
you're writing your book as you are developing the company culture, would you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody's book is different. And some of us aren't able to write prose as well as others to be able to establish that book. But the book is present in the actions and the personality of the employees of the company.
Wow, valuable information. And again, those books that he mentioned, we'll make sure that are in the show notes page on Hustle and Heart TV. You can simply search his name, Sonny, and you'll be able to see those, as well as links out to your website and other information that you might share. What I'd love for you to focus in on now is just, what does the future look like for you? Because it sounds like you're so busy right now in the things that you have in place, and clearly you're building your team and looking at growth, but long term, how does Sonny get to living his greatest desires?
Well, I still have the goals for the business. And my goal for the business is not necessarily to become so big. I don't want to lose our family corporate company culture. That I don't want to lose, but I still have to get bigger to survive the future onslaught of regulations that are coming down the pipe. So I see us getting twice as big as we are now, and then stopping from an intentful expansion point to a point of, like, if somebody in our team wants to grow further, then we strategically go out and help that person expand to where they want to go. Not to hinder anybody any further, but to still grow with the fulfilling the desires of the other team members in the company. And that's really what I want to get to. And we're a couple years away from that. And from that point, I don't know what the next project will be. I'm certainly, there's no intentions of selling this company. This is my heart and soul, and I fully intend to be in this for the next 10 to 20 years. But my level of involvement on a day-to-day basis may change. Because I have some great leaders that I'm establishing, and I need to provide them opportunities. And I can't hold them back from those opportunities. I have to find a way to diminish myself and provide them their leadership opportunities to grow that they've earned on their own right.
And that may give you a few extra minutes in the day to enjoy some wild occasion experience.
Well, yeah, getting back to Louisiana is something I hope to do often. My accent doesn't come through, but certainly after I've had a couple margaritas, it comes right back out. Or I visit family and doing that, and hopefully I can get
no hurricanes in there.
But tequila, we can get more tequila.
There you go.
Doing that. But I always, as far as golf, I always tell, I don't hire anybody that's less than a 10 handicap because they don't work enough.
Right.
And I can't wait to fire myself.
Uh-oh. Two good schools of thought.
Yeah.
So, Sonny, thanks so much for being on the show. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and certainly your insight and information around building a team, building leaders, and staying the course when things get tough is so important. Even if you're facing bankruptcy or you're facing challenges, so important to dig in and stay focused, and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
yeah. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of Hustle and Heart TV. Have a great day.
Are you looking for a career that pays great money, working with a fun group of people? I know, sounds too good to be true, right? Hi, I'm Troy Miles of the Miles Group.
We will train you, help you get your license, even supply leads. No cold calling.
I've been here 2 years and earned 6 figures this year.
I love my job.
I love the freedom and being my own boss.
If you would like to work among friends, have a great time, and make good money, call us.
Find out more at tmilesgroup.com.